from guys that are like, yeah, I'm ready. And the thing is, they're yard slapping trees or heavy bags or speed bags, and they don't know if they're ready or not. They just know that they practice their slaps. And until you receive a slap and until you're in a battle where you're digging deep, it's a battle of wills between you and your opponent, you don't really know the sport. And so we've dealt with this for 7 years, man. People just coming in and talking a bunch of trash like they're going to dominate, and then they run into a veteran and realize that there's levels to this. So we have Frank the Tank. He's I don't like to use the word legend a lot, but within the world of slap fighting, I think Frank would be the legend. He's got more matches than anyone on the planet. And, we bring the new guys in. We let them spend some training camp time with Frank. We teach them the rules. They get a little bit of a camp to prepare, and then we put them in a little bit of a short fight and hyper manage them and, try to grow them and so that we can have amateur rankings and professional rankings, and so far it's worked out really well for us. But bringing Mark in changed everything.
Sure.
Because these guys some of these guys are in their 20s, early 30s, and they don't know who Mark is. So I brought this crazy guy in. A lot of them are like, who the hell is this testosterone-fueled, 50-year-old man, and who the hell is this guy? And once they started to realize that it was Mark Hammer Coleman, they listened to him a little more. But he's changed the game for us because he's one of the most, as you know, Randy, he's one of the most motivating people I've ever met in my life. And he'll take guys that are scared to death, and he'll just pull them over in the corner and have a quick conversation with them, and then they'll come out of that corner a completely different person, man, just like he used to do with Randall and Randy.
Sure.
Same thing, man, and he's doing it with slappers. And they've all become really good friends with Mark Coleman, and it's really nice to see. And, Mark and I have a fun relationship. We've got a podcast, and we do commentary for Jiu-Jitsu and Ultimate Tire Wrestling together, and then we used to train together, but Mark got tired of me just slamming him. He's a little bit older now, and it's easier to take us down, and so now we just sort of have a professional commentary relationship and a podcast relationship. But, back when we used to train together, it was really hard for him to stay on his feet with me, so now I sort of just let him say his stuff, and I just kind of let people believe that he's a better wrestler than me.
So we should first clarify that you're in one state and Mark's in another right now.
Yeah, that might be important to know. He's in Ohio and I'm in Missouri. But,
Logistics matters.
He could be 5 feet away and not get my feet, man.
Before Matt I know he wants to ask you a question about Jiu-Jitsu. Just have all of your athletes that are going to be involved in SlapFIGHT watch UFC 11. That's all they need to do, watch UFC 11.
That's right. You're damn right.
So, JT, obviously, SlapFIGHT, it's self-evident. I mean, you can probably figure out it's slapping. But tell everybody about Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, I've watched it. I've seen it. It's brilliant. It's functional.
If me and JT were going to actually go at it, it would have looked like UFC 11 finals. It would have been a replica. Everybody ran.
Thanks, Mark. I don't think I would have been that dominant, though.
You just ran.
Thanks,
slowly.
Mark.
Well, and for those that don't know, I was at UFC 11, and I know that Mark Coleman's opponent in the finals didn't show up to fight. They had to replace him. That's all I'm going to say. Did he get
I would have gotten in there, Mark.
Did he get the MMA flu? I don't know. But,
it goes around.
It does go around.
Augusta, Georgia.
Talk about Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, Mark is an intense dude, man. Yeah, who am I speaking to? Is this Steve?
This is Matt.
Oh, hey, Matt. What's going on, man?
What's up, brother?
Jiu-Jitsu is our new thing. We started SlapFIGHT, and, I've been coaching MMA and promoting MMA and kickboxing for a long time, so during the pandemic, slap fighting really took off, and we did some really great things. I think we're up to like 3.2 billion views or something.
Wow.
But my personal students don't compete in slapping. We're a MMA gym here in my gym, and so I didn't really have any personal students that were wanting to slap. It was just guys that I was meeting, in the peripherals. So when we came up with Jiu-Jitsu, it was two prongs. It was, number one, I wanted something that our students could compete in. And number two, I didn't want to be a one-hit wonder, I always wanted to be a guy who could make up new sports, new combat sports, and try to find some life for them. And it happened with slap fighting, but then with Jiu-Jitsu, we had help. We partnered with Pro League Network, and Pro League Network facilitated a lot of the things that you see us doing now. Mark and I are co-hosts for Car-Jitsu Championship, which is real simple. Two guys strap themselves in the front seat of a car, and when the bell rings, they've got 3 minutes to unbuckle and engage, and you've got to stay alive, man. Anything inside the car can be used to submit your opponent, including the seat belts and the steering wheel, and it's a 2-3 minute round. And if you haven't found a submission in those 2 rounds, then we go to the back seat for the 3rd round. And it's brutal, and it's beautiful. And when you watch it, Matt, it looks like a crime in progress. That's what it looks like, and I love it.
It's car fighting. It's car fighting at its best. No punches are allowed, but you got to get mean. You got to get dirty in there, and you definitely want to be in the top position. That's critical. And the seatbelts, they're coming into play a lot more than I thought. They're very effective weapons.
So I heard.
Mark really he really got excited. We had a female tournament last month, and Mark got so excited, man. He's over here showing these girls how to get the seatbelt choke. And, later, I realized that he was also showing them in the parking lot.
So guys, I've heard a rumor, or maybe I'm just starting it, that Tim Sylvia needs to defend his super heavyweight slap title in a Car-Jitsu. So when he does that, I want to know, who is he going to defend against, and what Sherman tank, what airplane are you going to put him in?
They're going to need an Uber XL.
Okay, well, here's the thing about Tim Sylvia. Now that he's the SlapFIGHT super heavyweight champion, short list of guys that are going to compete for a chance to face him. And about Randy and Mac is that they are not here if they were different kinds of sport. They have the greatest cardio, and they may not have good martial arts skills, but they're not afraid. So I've had several people ask me to face Tim Sylvia, and if this were MMA, that would not be the case. As far as Car-Jitsu is concerned, we cannot find a cargo van or a car or even a double-decker bus that's big enough to house Tim Sylvia. However, Tim has just expressed interest to me in the last few days in making his debut at one of our other fringe combat sports with Pro League Network. It's called Ultimate Tire Wrestling. And it is the Ultimate Tire Wrestling show is judo and wrestling based. And I guess I should let Mark tell you about it because he's the expert. But Mark and I also host Ultimate Tire Wrestling, and we think it's possible that you'll be seeing the debut of Tim Sylvia in that sport by the end of the year.
That would be
but
beautiful.
Mark, tell him about UTW, man.
Well, Tim's too big to get put in the tires, so he can't lose. Well, you got two huge stretcher tires placed on a mat in the middle of a room, and then the two components that have to always remain touching each other and touching the tire, and the object is to get the other guy up in the air and into the tire hole. It's called a slam dunk, and that's an automatic win. But it's a 3-minute round. It's exhausting, and the way you score points is by getting the other guy up in the air. The clock starts ticking. When you get the guy's feet off the ground and he's up in the air, the clock ticks, advantage time for you. And basically, if there's no dunk at the end, the guy who has the most air time wins the fight. And we're trying to tweak with the rules a little bit to create a little bit more excitement, but it's a thing of beauty what I've seen so far. JT just has his mind just comes up with these awesome sports so far. I love all of them.
Well, I love about it, fellas.
Fun, but it's not just me.
Well, what I love about it is it's actually practical. I mean, I have daughters when they're going to be driving alone as females. Like the Car-Jitsu actually is something applicable that can save their life one day, just because they could just not freeze in the moment or give up if somebody jumps in the car at a stoplight or red light. My wife's Brazilian, so that's always a fear going down to Brazil. But I think it's practical and I love it. I think it's amazing.
Thank you so much. We just signed, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but I guess we'll be on the Ocho, ESPN Ocho with Car-Jitsu later this year. And then, of course, we'll have our female championship by the end of the summer as well. But Car-Jitsu is really taking off. I just, this morning, I was on YouTube and I saw Uncle Chael talking about it. I've seen Kevin Hart and like a lot of celebrities are starting to really embrace Jiu-Jitsu, but the thing that I really love is that Jiu-Jitsu practitioners and high belts are starting to patronize us a little bit more. When we first started, it was mostly white belts, blue belts, wrestlers, and a lot of the Jiu-Jitsu purists weren't real happy with me. They just didn't think that this was a viable sport. But after the last couple of years, man, they've started to change their tune, and I believe that August the 6th, we're having our first black belt tournament. So we're getting to a place where the level is starting to rise, and we're starting to see a lot of big balls coming into the car.
Well, I was going to I was going to say, as you were starting to say those belts, that I would be interested in participating, but you didn't say the Kmart belt.
No, the Kmart belt, we're saving up for that one, man. I don't know who we're going to put you up against, but it's probably just going to be Mark, for lack of a better opponent.
So JT, is there a specific car that actually is a better fighting apparatus? Or, I mean, it's obviously not a cage or a ring, but what interior, what design is actually lends better for the sport or for the gameplay of what you guys do?
Well, right now, the first car we used was just basically, we were just looking for a two-door coupe with a sunroof, and so we ended up finding a Toyota Scion. And so our first couple of tournaments were in a Toyota Scion, but the problem is the car just gets the absolute crap beaten out of it during the matches, and so you can probably only have about 6 or 8 matches in a car before the windshield's gone and the steering wheel's gone and the seats won't lay back anymore. So when we went to Atlanta, Mark and I recently went to Atlanta and did a Jiu-Jitsu show with Brinks TV and Randy Couture. And, you should find that. If you haven't seen it, guys, you should find it on YouTube. Randy and Mark, we convinced them to get in the car and wrestle. It was awesome. But we went down there. We had to find a new car, and somehow a Toyota Scion was the car again. And then when we came back, we needed to find a new car for the tournament that we just hosted. And so we just thought, why not just go with a Toyota Scion? So for no reason, no good reason, that's just what we seem to be using. And we just like it that it's a two-door car. It's got a sunroof so that it's better for lighting and filming, and it's just a little bit more standard to what people are driving out there. But we have every intention of changing to vans and trucks, and I'm looking for an El Camino right now, and just a lot of crazy ideas, because the truth is, this is a real sport, but it's also a practical version of a martial art that you can use when you're being attacked in a car. Uber drivers and cab drivers pay very close attention to Jiu-Jitsu.
I know a company that might be able to donate a 15-passenger van. We can take the seats out, and that should be a lot of fun doing one of those.
Hey, man, can we box in it, Randy?
Well, hold on a second. When you say we, what are you implying?
While you're going down the highway.
You can box in it.
We're looking at moving. We're looking at moving truck boxing.
Oh my God, that's unreal!
I think Jackass already did that. No,
I'll drive it.
Wow,
yeah, they did. Yeah, we want to make it a little bit less deadly, though. I think
they were on skates as well.
Will be replaced with chain link.
Wow. No, so JT so in your opinion,
a lot of stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
So, no, in your opinion, is the steering wheel side an advantage or disadvantage in Jiu-Jitsu?
Well, for me, I'm a little heavier than I used to be, so that steering wheel is right where I need to be to get my knees engaged. So I would want to be in the passenger side. But the situation is simple. If you win the coin toss, you choose which seat you start in. So if I win the coin toss, then, Matt, I would have you start behind the steering wheel, but then in the second round, they force us to switch. It's equal each time. In the third round, you go to the back seat.
JT, it's interesting that's what you just mentioned, because I wrote down one note that I did want to talk about, going back to what I witnessed on Saturday and how cool I thought it was on how they determined who called the coin flip. Because when you go to, how do you determine it? You guys have the right way to determine, in my opinion, the coin flip. Why don't you explain that?